Well, let's do some discussions. And I told you earlier about the guests we're expecting in the studio. They're right here. Andrew Ejapa Mesa is a member of parliament for Sekondi, a legal practitioner. Look, he knows it all. Well, many other things as well. Thanks for joining me, Andrew. Bobo.
Pleasure being here. I was hesitant in responding because knowing it all, I don't think that that's a trait that I possess.
I know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to our church viewers. So it was good.
Yeah, great. You went to church yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Ah, great.
Yes.
All right. And,
unfortunately, I didn't see you.
I think I went for the first service.
Oh,
yeah, the crowd was big.
Yeah, now the crowd is bigger because the church is under construction, a bigger one. And I have Clement Apaak, Dr. Clement Apaak, an anthropologist by academic training, lecturer, University of Ghana, former. He's on a sabbatical sort of to do some politics. And he's here, former presidential staffer as well, but member of parliament for Busa
South.
Busa South, Sulu.
You've done well.
Yeah, true.
After several months of not being here, you still remember.
Yeah, and for all my friends in Tamale.
And from BC.
I say Dasiba.
Oh, okay.
I hope that you're all having some great time. But we all know that many other things happened prior to the weekend, and over the weekend there have been some massive development on a number of issues. But we have to say that according to what the connoisseurs are saying and the analysts, peace has returned to the Dagbon kingdom. And so we want to talk a lot of things about security, regulating issues, finance issues, but also talking about crime and security. So it's what's topical in your discussion platforms, and we're starting on the subject of Dagbon. And we know that according to what the news has been, we have a new Yana. And the Committee of Eminent Chiefs is also appealing for their court to be respected and the peace to prevail following the installation of Yana Abubakar Mahama as the new Yana. And I have to start with you on the subject. And that's a good thing. Government has also worked in collaboration with the Committee on Eminent Chiefs. And so we've come to this conclusion. As a country, we need to move forward, but more so for the Kingdom of Dagbon. That's foremost.
Well, let me say good morning to you and say happy New Year to you.
Yeah, we haven't met each other.
Yes, the whole of 2019, this is my first appearance on your program. And I think it is also just fair that I indicate how I miss my sparring partner, the late member of parliament for Ayawa's West Wagon. And so I also want to formally communicate my sympathies to him, to his family, to his party, and other loved ones. I am told that the funeral would be on this Saturday, and I know as many of us members of parliament and as many of us who were his constituents and indeed his associates will do our best to be part of that, to give him a befitting send-off. It is also proper that I greet the people of Fumbisi. As you indicated, Busa South, Soluk, you have raised a very important point, and I think that it's a matter that is on the minds of many Ghanaians, largely because of the trauma that Dagbon faced. We all know the background and the history of what precipitated the situation that, by the grace of God, successive governments have put in immense effort to help resolve. So I don't think that it is useful at this point, except perhaps if it becomes necessary, to delve into the history and to chronicle why we got to where we were and why we should be celebrating the current achievement of peace returning to Dagbon. But it has not been an easy matter, largely due to the sensitivities and the factors that precipitated the initial occurrence that led to the, if you like, the disturbances in Dagbon, which became very protracted and very complicated. We also remember very well that indeed the Committee of Eminent Chiefs, which was put in place to try and help find a proper roadmap acceptable to all parties to resolve the impasse, has worked. And indeed, I would say that it has been the collective effort of successive governments in terms of supporting the committee, making available the needed resources, giving the needed backing that has led us to where we are. But ultimately, we must give credit to the people themselves, because in issues of peace and conflict resolution, you cannot achieve peace if the conflicting parties do not come to a point of recognizing that it is in their own interest to smoke the peace pipe, so to speak. Indeed, when the processes leading to the current joyful references that we are all making began, some people were still skeptical about whether it was going to go according to plan, whether there was going to be the tendency of one group to react positively or negatively. And attempts were made. I mean, we all heard of press conferences, we read press statements from one or another group, but eventually they all came to the realization that it was going to be in the collective interest and the bigger interest of Dagbon, given the inimical effects of the lack of peace and the lack of stability, that it was important for them to put their differences aside and allow the processes to unfold in a way that would lead to the selection of somebody who many people would believe would be a unifying factor. And from the reading so far, and from both sides, and indeed, you know, well-meaning Ghanaian citizens and citizens from Dagbon, I have the understanding that the person who has been selected by the four personalities who are given that odious responsibility to go into conclave and to select, that he is somebody that exudes a positive aura in terms of the two sides that were, if you like, in contestation for the leadership of Dagbon. But it has not been an easy road, and the prayer is that we would all offer our support to the chief and his subordinates, and even the sub-chiefs as well, so that this that we are seeing can be sustained for all of us to thrive and progress as a people, and particularly for the people of Dagbon.
Okay, but Mr. Mesa, not stoking any controversy at all. I have to say that the posture of government has also been very positive, and that has also culminated in what we've seen so far. And everybody's saying that peace has returned to Dagbon. And again, we'll take government for the peace to be sustained.
Yes, refreshing news indeed. Let me just take the opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers, particularly my constituents in Second D. Refreshing news. It's interesting how Mr. Dr. Apaak tried to relate the issue and lay a claim for successive governments having played key role in bringing about this peace. You saw Mr. Mahama's post over the weekend, former President Mahama. When it's good, then it's successive government's effort. When it's bad, then it's the MPP government. I thought that consistent. We ought to give credit where credit is due. The suspicion that the MPP government had, for some reason, some biased posture, or the commentary, the refusal to attend the funeral even. Today is successive governments.
Yes,
today.
But that is a matter of fact. If the process had been truncated, you wouldn't have reached this conclusion. It's simple.
Let me commend the two gates, the Abudus and the Andanis. Clearly, we all know that, but for their cooperation, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are. And also give due credit to the role that the eminent chiefs played, led by Otumfuo Osetutu Asantehene, played a yeoman's role in ensuring that the roadmap that they outlined has been followed through to its logical conclusion, such that a new Yana has been adored. Most importantly, give credit to His Excellency the President for his fortitude, for his focus, for his leadership in ensuring that the mutual suspicion of government having some interest, and he indicated quite clearly and forcefully that his only interest in this matter was for peace to return to Dagbon. Now we are where we are through his efforts, and of course complemented by the significant roles that were played by the various stakeholders. My expectation is that for peace to be sustained, government ought to do its bit as has been done in the past. The players within the space should accord the new Yana the necessary respect and dignity that he deserves. And the people in the area, for their own developmental and enhancement, should work together and collaborate to ensure that peace prevails. And I'm extremely positive that with the hierarchy having been restored, when touch wood, this Yana passes, I think that that will be the real test as to whether the gate that is customarily entitled to ascension to the skin would be allowed, you know, to assume that role. That clearly would be the icing on the cake to cement lasting peace in Dagbon, for development to, you know, their share of the national cake, which ordinarily would have been used in providing security, would go into the requisite development of the area. That's just my take.
Well, let's move on and also tend to look at an issue of national security as well. And it involves the shooting to death, though, of one member of the Tiger IPI team. We know that they were foremost in producing their documentary last year, which led to turmoil in Ghana's football as well as across the continent. And the shooting incident and its subsequent report was met with a lot of shock. Now, if you tend to look at the pressure that seemed to be mounting on the state and its security apparatus about the actions that need to be taken or should have been taken, when we know that there seemed to be the observation based on what the comments have been from those related to the individual, the victim, about threat to their lives, etc. It brings into question what actions should have been taken by the security agencies, why or if they took those actions, was it enough, among others?
Well, it's early days yet, if you ask me, in terms of the investigations that the police ought necessarily conduct in finding the persons who are behind the gruesome murder of this gentleman. And let me take this opportunity to commiserate with the family for the loss of a loved one, his wife and children, his extended family. My sincere condolences to them. It's an unfortunate incident in our body politic, you know, for the security agencies, you know, inability, if you like, or lack of presence, such that people can go out there brazenly. I hear the perpetrators were not even masked. You know.
We're told that they had been seated for hours.
Yeah, in the
waiting
neighborhood,
for the man.
waiting for the man. And I think that's important that we get to the bottom of it. I mean, the international pressure is expected because we all know the work that Tiger PI is reputed to have done in the past, particularly in the football space, which brought down my very good friend Kwesi Antechi and his team. And so for a member of that team to be murdered in the manner in which it was done, the expectation would be that people who have worked with them, FIFA and, you know, BBC, Al Jazeera, and I hear some congressman in the United States has also written a letter. My only worry is the without any basis, if you ask me, because as far as I'm concerned, you know, the rules of evidence, if you like, that would tie a particular act to a specific occurrence, not necessarily be closely connected. And so the conclusions that have been drawn,
you think they're
in my
too
view,
preemptive?
were too hasty and preemptive, because yes, it could be connected. It could be, I don't know. And of course, it could be that doesn't have any connection at all. And that the resurrection of that statement, its connection, may entirely be to divert the focus of the police investigation. But it's important that the police, at the end of the day, get to the bottom of this. These people can be found. And I think that the public should provide requisite information out there so that the perpetrators of this heinous crime can be brought to book.
Now we'll go to the family. The spokesperson of the family in a press conference that was convened outlined certain issues and raised certain concerns.
No, they did a press conference.
And willing to cooperate and work with the law enforcement agencies to get to the bottom of this matter. The family is pursuing this matter in order to support the Ghanaian people to avert any occurrences on those other well-meaning Ghanaians whose photographs were shown alongside that of our son. We call on the good people of Ghana to take their personal security seriously by taking note of strange, unusual movement and occurrences in and around their houses, neighborhoods, communities, and towns. We would like to call on the Ghana Journalists Association, Media Foundation for West Africa, Association of African Journalists and Writers, International Federation of Journalists, Global Investigative Journalists Network, all foreign missions in Ghana, civil society groups, and the general public to support the security agencies and the Ghana Police Service with information, technology, and expertise to unravel the mystery surrounding the killing of Davyela Hussein Ahmed Swale. The family would want periodic updates from the government of Ghana and the security agencies on the progress made in bringing the perpetrators to book. Is it a crime to help to protect the public purse of your country? Is it a crime to expose riots and naked thievery to public funds and assets? No. Is it a crime to reveal injustices in your country? No. Is it a crime to expose and fight corruption in your country? No. The last question is, you kill a human being just to have your way, to steal and cheat people and your country? No. Would we want to do all these things? How do you expect those innocent children, his wives, and dependents to survive? If you are not a parent to appreciate the pain of infant orphanage, don't you have parents to understand the value of parenthood? We need to know the crime of Davyela Hussein Ahmed Swale to deserve such cruelty and wickedness. Ladies and gentlemen of the press,
well, so we've had all those concerns being raised by the family of Swale, Ahmed Swale, but it brings into question all the concerns that have been raised about the state of security and also the state of people who seem to ask hard questions of states and state officials, and even people in public office?
Well, Roland, first of all, let me join well-meaning Ghanaians in condemning this cowardly and dastardly act. It is very worrisome, and all of us must take this matter very seriously as it relates to our personal security. We all know the type of work that the late Ahmed was doing, the fact that he was a key member of the Tiger IPI group. They have done a lot of work. The most recent one that the world and Ghanaians became aware of was the one that is named number 12, to do with, you know, what is wrong in terms of football administration, not only in Ghana, but, you know, on the continent. That documentary was well publicized. Certainly a number of Ghanaians were very repulsed by it and the content that was provided in that documentary. You must remember too that in that documentary there were a number of issues that came up, although some believe that those were mere allegations and had no basis for further action. But the gravity of the content actually caused the president, who was mentioned as was his vice and other members of government, as potential beneficiaries of a scheme, if it had gone through, for the president to actually file the case with the police against the former GFA boss. As we speak now, we don't know where that case stands and whether there is going to be any further action.
Filed a case against...
Yeah, you remember the president filed a case against Mr. Nyantichi. I mean, you know, after the presidency held the press conference, it was later on announced that the president had cause to file a case because he felt that, you know, his image, name, and reputation was being exploited. I'm just paraphrasing, but we all know that this is no secret. But a lot of actions were taken against some of the officials who were implicated within the context of number 12. Be as it may, my understanding is that this young man who has lost his life was actually assisting the police in ongoing investigations to do with the number 12 expose. And one would have expected that, given the type of work that he does, which naturally would attract retribution, or if you like, revenge, from those who may feel slighted or those whose reputations or images may have been collapsed as a result of their work, that security would have been primary. Particularly so when even the police had seen cause to invite him to help in the investigation. I would have thought that at least some type of security would have been provided, even if not overt, covert.
Yeah, because we're told that they made some overtures to the police.
That's right. That's right.
Some security to be extended.
That's
to them.
right.
The police also say they also extended some form of security. I think in what state and how it was undertaken, perhaps.
Well, that is why I agree with my honorable colleague here that it is early days yet. We are waiting to see how the investigation is going to go. But make no mistake, this occurrence, rightly so, has attracted global attention.
It has.
I mean, from the UN, I saw last night.
Yeah, because we have a message from UNESCO, we have UN, a number of journalist groupings,
I mean,
US
there is
Congress,
no major news outlet
has issued a statement
in this world which has not reported on this, and there is no major personality that, you know, is a stakeholder in corporate Ghana who has not expressed their concern and to call on the security agencies to do what it takes to get to the bottom of this issue. But I see what worries me greatly is the tendency to try and excuse some conduct that borders on the possibility of inciting miscreants to engage in this type of act.
And in this one you're referring to...
And I speak clearly to my colleague in Parliament, the Honorable Kennedy Japan. Truly, I feel that we had a responsibility. His party had a responsibility. The president and the president had a responsibility to call him to order, given the intense attack that he launched against Tiger Eye and the members of Tiger.
Are you saying as an individual
extent,
he didn't have the right to?
Well, you have a right, but I don't believe that, our laws allow you to incite people to harm somebody. I mean, you tell me, is it acceptable to incite people to harm you and even make a pledge of a reward?
The gentleman also had recourse to the law if he so wished.
Please, I'm making my point. We are not talking about an ordinary member of society. We are talking about a financier of the MPP, a key player who has weight and gravitas, a key player whose name was actually also implied or mentioned in the number 12. Remember that as part of that documentary, the now former GFA boss made comments to the effect that, you know, it wasn't just the president who purportedly would have benefited from some $5 million and the vice president some $3 million.
I don't understand why you guys
I'm building a
always
point.
want to go on this.
I am building a point. The fact is that
you are better than this.
This issue is multifaceted, and it is important that we look at all dimensions. We have. You can't tell me that these things didn't happen.
We've had a presidency.
You can't tell me
also come out to clearly
if the presidency, if the president was not worried about his name and image, why did he have to file the case to the CID?
And that is why that is a rebuttal to the point you're raising. That we've had the presidency not once, not twice, consistently within the period of the impasse, come out clearly with even an actionable decision taken. On the point of the police service taking some actions against the individual Yendi,
yes,
particularly relating to the things that were said in that.
And where has that gotten us? I mean, have you started the CID?
The police.
Have you started the CID report?
Look.
I mean, how come?
Very well.
How come that FIFA has concluded and prescribed sanctions,
so
and we don't even know?
The posture of the state.
Well, yeah. I mean, the truth. My point is that I'm building the general scenario to indicate to you that it is becoming very obvious that certain personalities in this country are accorded a lot more rights than others. Truly, I truly believe that if at the time the MPP, the presidency, or its parliamentary majority had the boldness to call Honorable Kennedy to order in terms of the trajectory that he had chosen, in terms of his decision to showcase the photographs of these persons and even to make the comments that he made. Perhaps, I'm not saying that is the reason. Perhaps.
So why
this may not have occurred. It may not have occurred. And I still believe that it is about time that we call a spade a spade. Because look, our social cohesion is being endangered. Our national security is being endangered. If we can allow and sit by and let individuals make reckless comments, as some have put it, to take reckless action for reasons best known to them, I don't think that is proper. And I personally feel aggrieved because as a former member of the National Media Commission, to hear the current chair of the National Media Commission indicate publicly that he saw nothing wrong with Kennedy Japan splashing the photographs of Ahmed and others on his Net2 TV and making those pronouncements. Where in the world does that happen? Look, the Rwandan genocide, read the history, and I know you like reading, was precipitated by incitements. And so we should not underrate what incitement can do. Those who incite may not necessarily be connected to the consequential action, but their pronouncements and what they vocalize certainly can be a springboard or a foundation for others to take advantage of. And this is where I think we must look at the case of our security generally, but we must also begin to take preemptive action and call persons who make comments that can lead to volatility in our security system to book. It is in our collective interest to do that.
So one cue I seem to take from his response is Mr. Kennedy Japan is too big for the party, for the legislature, for the executive to even to be called to order. And linking that to the fact that if you look at a normal democratic functioning dispensation, the rule of law, but more so how effective the media is crucial to its sustenance and also balancing or creating that checks and balances as we always need it?
You see, I don't seek to hold brief for Kennedy Japan, and I don't think he's bigger than the law. I don't think so at all. If you do not sit with comments, statements that people make in its proper context, and that's why I said that my very good friend Chief Apaak here is bigger than that. Because bear in mind that Kennedy at the time had embarked on a crusade ostensibly to expose Anas and his team based on information that he claimed he had. Okay, and I hear he was told that, don't you know the Ahmed gentleman? He comes here. And that's why he issued those statements directed at his employees.
Yes, but if you speak to related parties of Tiger PI, they will tell you that
I don't hold brief for anybody. Like I said,
splashing his pictures and displaying his pictures on TV and the comments that followed drew attention to the gentleman and also his modus operandi. Because apparently nobody even knew that he worked with Tiger PI. And so as a state legislator, whether you've been mentioned in an activity or not, you also had some sense of responsibility to protect the identity of the individual.
You may draw those conclusions and you'll be legitimate in doing so.
You think they're wrong conclusions?
I don't know.
What do you think?
But I'm saying that if you don't situate it in the context that Kennedy was embarking on at the time, I have issues with Tiger PI.
You do?
Oh, absolutely.
Which are?
Look, my own cousin, okay, if you recall, this...
which of the episodes? Is it the judges?
The brothel matter. Okay. She had issues. I have issues with the mode of the investigation. As far as she is concerned, it was completely made up. Okay, but it's not for me to sit here and provide, But Kennedy at the time told everybody in this country that as far as he is concerned, these guys were doing things beyond mere investigative journalism. And so he was out to expose them. Okay? Possible that his exposure may have brought this unfortunate incident. And so it's important that the police conduct an investigation to establish that. Okay, because if they're able to get the perpetrators, they would be in a position to know whether it was as a result of these statements that Kennedy made that has led to somebody taking an action, or that it was some unrelated matter that involved this gentleman that led to this. I'm not prepared to speculate like my friends want to do and indicate that he's an MPP financier and also. So what has it got to do with anything?
I have not said that he has done it. What has
it got to do? Are you not a financier of your party?
I was only giving a background.
Are you not a financier of your party?
I pay my dues.
Absolutely. So,
no, but he does more than that. It is no secret. He says it all the time.
Says what?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Don't let us be pretending.
Draw politics into serious matters that border on life. That's what we do all the time, majoring on the minors, just so that the real issues ultimately get to be buried. Okay, if that's what we want to focus, by all means, let's do it. But does that help the discourse? Obviously not. Okay,
well, somebody's life that we seem to be in a state of insecurity. The security of the states, or perhaps some elements in our society, seem to be under siege.
And how's that borne out?
Oh, well, we just had the medal of a lady in a home.
Did you see
about a week or two ago?
Yes, every single death, murder, armed robbery.
You think it's normal?
It's unjustifiable. But let nobody be deceived that it is only these past few months that we've had these incidents in this country. Doesn't help anybody. I saw a report over the weekend, criminal CID report on crimes over the past decade. It's not justifiable. Every single life is precious, and state security agencies ought to do their best to protect every single Ghanaian.
And you're saying it's not because it's anything political.
How is that? Let's go back. Does it help? But that's what they want to do. Create a sense of insecurity. When you were coming here, you drove alone and came without any security. We draw inferences on unfortunate crimes that happen to politicize it and
this is not
create
about
a
politics.
sense of some insecurity.
These are realities that we must discuss.
I don't have a problem, but the context within which you do it makes it have a political coloration or not.
But on
Okay.
the other hand, I'm thinking, if you're involved in an investigative work, and the outcomes of the investigations tend to affect people's livelihoods, tend to affect people's stature, and could ultimately bruise people's egos and psyche, then it means that you also need to take precautions, personally. For example, if you are living in Medina, you shouldn't be living in Medina after number 12, I'm thinking. And so ultimately, if you're careless in your own personal security, you invariably also will find yourself in at the mercy, or maybe at the end of somebody's own barrel or somebody's own anger, something of the sort.
Rightly so, Roland. I think that generally those who engage in this type of enterprise are bound to offend some people. And if you know the parameters within which Tiger Eye works, I mean, the basic principle is to expose name and shame with the hope that, you know, the system would then take action against those who...
That is the agencies of
yes,
state.
those who are exposed as persons who are duping or defrauding the state. And so, yes, generally, when you engage in that type of enterprise, you can expect retribution. Perhaps not even from the principals, but maybe their subordinates, their loved ones, or
other associates.
even associates as well. So it's a very complicated and dangerous field. That is why in other jurisdictions, for example, you take the US and Canada, usually when there is a high-profile case and people who are connected to that, in order to try and secure you, they have the witness protection a program or act, where sometimes they actually move you, for example, from California, where I used to be, they might take you to New York at a place, change your name, your identity, as a way of trying to protect you from possible retribution. So yes, in hindsight, we can look at all of these issues. But generally, I believe that the security agencies, in as far as they knew the value of Ahmed within the context of assisting them in the ongoing investigation to do with the rather explosive number 12, certainly should have made a greater effort, even if he, as a person, still felt comfortable, you know, dwelling in his old abode. I think that the security people owed him and the rest of us, because that is why we have the state. You are not allowed, for example, to commit suicide.
Dr. Apaak,
although
is that not
it is your
why,
life.
is that
You are
not
not allowed to commit suicide.
Is that not why
the state would not accept that?
Dr. Apaak, is that not why we don't have to go on the tangent of your earlier argument about perhaps maybe the issues raised by also Kenny Japan?
No, they are not separate.
Yes, they are not separate.
There is a link, possibly.
But there's also, if you do a critical analysis of both sides, there should be measured sense of responsibility on both sides. You take responsibility for your security, and also another party also takes some sense of responsibility for your security or the security of the other party, because there's a subject.
Roland, whether we like it or not, a life has been lost.
Yes.
Regrettable.
True.
The context is what we are trying to look at, calling for action, but also, you know, we are having a reflection about what we need to do so that these kinds of occurrences don't continue to visit us.
All right.
So yes, we can have the discussion about who should have done what where, but I think at this point we must, you know, call on the security agencies to get to the bottom of this issue. At the same time, to we as public figures, persons in the limelight, persons who have following, and persons who have influence, we must be mindful of our pronouncements, because incitement is called incitement because it has repercussions. And that is a point that I'm not going to shy away from making. And so I don't think that perhaps because Tiger IPI did not up their own personal security, that should be a basis for us to ignore the comments and the splashing of their pictures by Kennedy Japan.
You are saying it's no excuse?
It's certainly no excuse.
Great. All right. So now let's move to another issue of security, if it's financial security or whatever it is, because now a statement has been issued, and there's every indication that apparently we sent some emissaries to the Emiratis, that's Dubai specifically, and it was a follow-up to the issue of Nana Apia Mensah, who is the chief executive of Men's Gold, and his actions thereof. And according to a statement, we're told that it's a joint statement by the Ghana Police Service and the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, on the arrest of Nana Apia Mensah in Dubai. And it reads as saying, subsequent to the police statements of January 14, the update provides further details on the status of investigations into the Men's Gold matter. And the statement says that the delegation of apparently security and legal officers from Ghana visited the Emiratis, that's the UAE, between 16th to 19th of January, and the mandate of the delegation was to determine the nature of the legal processes against Nana Apia Mensah, the most appropriate means by which Ghana can have custody of him to assist with investigations involving his company in Ghana, and we know it's the Men's Gold issue. And prior to this, Mr. Apia Mensah was cooperating, we're told, apparently before he left the shores of Ghana, with the EOCO as part of investigations into a possible misdemeanor in breach of Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institution Act. That's Act 930, as reported to it by the Bank of Ghana. And it is the understanding of the Ghanaian delegation that Mr. Mensah faces the misdemeanor charges in the UAE and will only be made available to Ghana upon the final determination of his current matter in the UAE. His case is next due in court on February 2. We're told that February 2, usually the court won't sit in Dubai. But that also brings a question. We just sent a delegation there. We didn't do any prior, perhaps fact-checking before we went there. We also have an embassy there, I believe, very strong one, because we have good relations with the UAE. But then the investigations seem to continue. And I have to start with you, Mr. Mensah, on this subject. It looks like the states seem to be doing something. They are on a certain action to make sure that they bring him to book. But also we need to make sure that as a state we get the facts right, and we are taking the necessary actions to make sure that the gentleman is also brought to the jurisdiction for the next step to be made.
Well, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that these steps that are being taken obviously are necessary. I'm sure that the intendment would be for Mr. Mensah to be brought home so that he can face the full rigors of the law. However, I mean, to suggest that no checks were done before going, we have a strong mission in Dubai, so it was improper, if you like, for state security agencies from Ghana and legal officers to go. I disagree entirely, because the process of extradition, if you like, was what these officers had gone to initiate. Of course, if the gentleman has been arrested in Dubai for some offenses, then they have a right to determine through an appropriate forum, in this case the courts, as to his guilt or otherwise. My understanding is that the bail that was granted him, or the order that the court issued for him to be kept, expires on the 2nd. And so they ought to go back to court for some extension or not before the 2nd of February. And of course, if 2nd of February turns out not to be a working day, all it means is that you'll be arraigned at the next available working day. You know, but you see on
Just
social
a matter
media,
of procedure, you say.
Absolutely. You see on social media the kinds of commentary that people are
You're
making.
saying it's unjustified commentary?
Absolutely. And it tells you clearly.
Who sets a court date on a non-working day? Who does that?
That is strange.
You
No,
see,
but you're a lawyer, so I don't know. Is it
a
possible
lawyer.
that a court date could be on, let's say, on a Sunday, for example?
ordinarily, no.
Okay.
But so if 2nd is a non-sitting day, the matter is ended because of that.
No.
And so what's the big deal?
But it's a big
Doesn't
deal.
end the matter.
For us
at
to
all.
send a delegation to the UAE.
Is it the delegation that set the court date? Is it the Ghanaian delegation that set the court date in Dubai?
As a matter of practice.
How?
Would you, is it normal?
For what?
I'm asking you.
But it's not possible for Ghanaian officials to set a court date in Dubai.
Yeah, that's true.
So why are we making a fuss? Why? But we know the reasons. It's the politicking.
But the thing is in the statement.
I
The
don't
statement
have
is coming from.
Yes, the statement that was issued by Ghana police says that the gentleman is due for court on the 2nd of February.
And people have
it's in
fact-checked.
black and white.
You've seen that,
I don't have a problem that there is some website that says that on that day the court is closed. And I'm saying that if on the 2nd of February the court is closed, does that bring the matter to an end? Because procedurally, if a date is fixed that tends to be a Saturday or a holiday or whatever, all it means is that the next available date that the court opens, the gentleman will be brought before court. But consistently, we are focusing on the minors. Because that's what is exciting.
You're not saying politics is being brought into this.
But that's exactly what is happening. Haven't you heard the comments that state security agencies have collaborated with the gentleman to get him out? And that this entire process is a farce?
Well, that's.
Haven't you heard it?
Yeah, it's a
I
narrative.
have.
But
And it's possible.
But
How?
the thing is that
without any basis?
people's money are in there, and so people are anxious. So
You see?
necessarily it could not be politically activated people
You
who
see,
are making
Roland,
such commentary. Yes, sir.
If you recall, I was on your show with you when this men's gold matter came up.
And I
at
remember
the
that
time,
day you swore
I
that there was
said-
no way you were going to put your money in. Yes, I
Absolutely.
remember that. Yeah.
That I was surprised that the gentleman had not been arrested at the time. Indeed, he was supposed to have been arrested way earlier. But clearly, because of the silo mentality of our security agencies, my duty is to just issue notices. Police Yoko is waiting for some complaint to be lodged before action is taken. And nobody has lodged a complaint, so the gentleman is allowed to be walking around. But, albeit belated, action is being taken. Okay, and if the gentleman has fallen foul of a law in another jurisdiction, and they've been able to get him to fall for some bait to get him there, the process ought to continue, so that if it is possible for him to be brought to Ghana, arrangements can be made between the Dubai
So you
officials.
don't think this was a wild goose chase?
At all, not at all.
All right.
Not
Was this
at
a
all.
wild goose chase?
It was clearly a wild goose chase. I mean, we said it from
Taxpayers' money spent.
We said it from the onset.
But that's not fair, he says.
Well, but you know, make the judgment.
No.
Because we have said
I'm
that.
asking you a question.
We have
How
said
can I
that.
know?
We have said that. The minority had indicated this very early on through our ranking member for the Foreign Affairs Committee, Okujeto Ablakwa. On this your same network, I think it was on PM Express, where he indicated very clearly that Ghana has no treaty arrangement in as far as the repatriation of or extradition of a person of interest is concerned. And therefore, this delegation was bound to come back empty-handed. We said it. And yet, as always, They chose to defy, you know, in this case, wise advice from the opposition. And they put together a delegation to go to Dubai. And of course, they have gone and they have come empty-handed, as we said. But Roland, in any case,
what's empty-handed? They've given us the update.
What update have they given?
That the gentleman faces some other charges.
What documentation have you seen to that effect? Have you even seen a photograph?
Are you doubting the report?
I have my doubts. I truly have no reason to believe the communication.
Dr. Clement Apaak, MP for Busa South. Are you doubting the statement?
I do.
And the fact inherent or
I doubt the statement put out because
by the Ghana Police Service.
Yes. Have you seen any documentation, even in the form of a visual, indicating that indeed this our delegation, as it claims, had an interaction with Nana Apia Bensa? Have you seen that?
They never said they had an interaction with them.
But they said that they had gotten sufficient information. How did they get that information? Who gave them that information? Have you seen any document that has come to your attention or even to the public's attention to authenticate
police documents
all the claims that they have made
out in the public domain?
And is it not even interesting?
Unbelievable.
What do you mean is unbelievable? Look, in proper democracies, matters of this nature, reports are given.
Constant updates.
Exactly.
But that's the update that has been given.
Investment and livelihoods are involved.
Hey, look, what we are dealing with is a very serious matter. And he doesn't want me to say it, but we would say this is not politics. The implications of this extreme act of fraud that supposedly this young man has perpetrated on Ghanaians is yet to be measured, not just for the individuals involved.
Has anybody said that he's committed fraud?
Well, why are we looking for him?
Yeah.
I mean, if you take people's investments and you decide to abscond and you fail to come and, if you like, fulfill your responsibilities, what do you call that? So the point I'm trying to make is that the trip was futile. It's certainly a waste of taxpayers' money. They have not provided any evidence to convince Ghanaians that indeed what they claim to be the case in as far as he being arrested and standing trial is credible. Until we get specifics about that trip, we have every reason to be suspicious about this whole enterprise. But if I may ask, why did we have to send? Why did we have to send?
People who make the wildest of allegations without proof?
What is the role of the ambassador at large?
Dr. Clement,
today,
couldn't they have sent the ambassador?
Dr. Clement Apaak,
you want proof?
Dr. Clement Apaak is a member of parliament for Busa South.
But
and then I have Andrew Japan Mesa also in the studio here. And thank you, Andrew, a legal practitioner, member of parliament for Sekendi. Do you have an AstroTurf in your constituency? Do you intend to build?
I want one.
Would you want?
I want
absolutely.
Yeah, because it's good.
I want one.
Yes.
I want one. In Busa South, in Fulbisi.
I went over the weekend. I went to one of the constituencies. I saw a beautiful one. So I was wondering. I said, if
hook me up.
If this could be done in our constituency. No, we're taking a break. When we come back, we're telling you about our latest Hotline documentary. Seth Kwame Boateng did great work, and across Ghana, illegal mining activities apparently have led many water bodies destroyed. And I know that the Member of Parliament for Sekendi can associate with that. Thousands of acres or acreages of farmlands have also been turned into wastelands. So little so far has been done about the devastating health implications for the communities where these mining activities are taking place due to its devastating effect. In the latest Hotline documentary, Seth Kwame Boateng explores the effects of the seepage of mercury and other chemicals into water bodies, etc., and its resultant effect on the health of communities. And Mama Bi Osobajo will be speaking on this subject to the producer, but also the patient also involved in this whole documentary and doctors on the subject of the effect. Stay with us. All these coming up.
The entire community is yet to recover from the disaster that hit the town a few years back. The lives of energetic young men were snuffed out like candle wicks. The community is still grieving. Before the ban on small-scale mining, Bordia was one of the busiest towns in the Wasekropon district. Illegal mining was the mainstay of the economy here, and it kept almost everybody, including the chiefs, busy. Nana Kwabena Boateng the first is the Tufuhine at Bordia Dompem.
nti metumi de shima no ma film se be mercury me film ansa na matoto be no akire no e ma me kobo wa na eniye de trebi kwa me bo wa na moja wom.
This is scary because mercury is a very toxic chemical. Elemental methyl mercury are toxic to the central and peripheral nervous systems. The inhalation of mercury vapor can produce harmful effects on the nervous, digestive and immune systems, lungs and kidneys, and may be fatal. The Wase Kropon Government Hospital is where the people aboard here end up when the coughs start. I have come here to meet the medical officer in charge, Dr. Ahmed Zakari Zakistan Musa, who links Nana Kwabena Boaten's situation to a possible mercury inhalation.
Miners use mercury as a way of extracting gold. And sometimes in the process, they inhale the mercury vapors. So mercury vapors could be toxic to the lungs and the respiratory tract. So most of them, they come with cough. You treat them, for the normal medicine we give for the cough, but they go back and they come with a cough. Because the cough is not due to infection, either viral or bacterial infection. It is actually due to what? The toxins of the mercury they are inhaling. So this is one of the main causes of what? Chronic cough in the mining areas.
Nana Kwabena Boaten coughed for over 2 months. He is not alone in this. There are many others like Kojo Mensah still battling for survival. In the case of Kojo Mensah, he has been coughing since 2011.
Still, I didn't press me. To be one of the things in coffee container. We go discussing children. Say, I say, Binya so much drubia. I come on my care. I'm so okay.
Nti one on kwana ubo.
One on my boss of me. I'm a man. Come on, I'm an antian. As I break. I'm an antian. I'm as a metizo. Then one is a then the wapa was already the wapa the letter.
And who share depend on my wing na buy?
I'm seeing no. Say you were even the blast. I say smoke. I say it bomb. And we see it. Say car we see no. Then we tell me massa yadiano. So then one na meko med.
Mercury.
And so the chigo. And so tell me massa yadiano. Don't I didn't say any before the wedding. The other capture. It will be shown no 4 years. And so dancing on the Bayiro, not a year.
Emmanuel Enim is another resident here who suffered this. He is lucky to have been cured.
210. I'm a machine. I am mobile. I walk Marfo Casim. I say, Futru, I say, I am prepared. Workers now a cocoa. And now, Mom saying inside infection. To me buy because what 3 months me a maybe.
It's not ordinary to say my obo and quanas now so yemre.
May be over Miss Attisme Bowaka crab, I mean, no, Jay crab.
Emmanuel is a free man. Many others have, however, died when the deaths started. The chief Nana Kwabena Boaten and his people thought a curse has been pronounced on the community after gold belonging to some visitors were stolen. He recalls about 40 men died.
Sabi yetikumi yempen invoidie yeni munkwala omoyenkwala papa na omoyenkwala boni. Nti obi wu a yenye tuza asuma se we de ono nsa ha no. Nti bia na load ni bia mpa. Obi ozo wu a utum se nipa we de dabi ade ntina wawu. Me ne wokasa ne kura no ebi mo bo wa hu o ma e ba ya yoro nti no na eye nhwemu hu se ene na eye makuri na nso banse ne be hu no Dr. Sapon ni team bi ne baaye eno be ncheche se mfuturo na etufa wimu no ekọ ba bia kwamanfo de mu makuri na omodi tujama friends acid no eno so ye share explain nti eno na akọfa sa ha no e de aba e ma ye gitum se ene na yampa ekwan fa so ye adwuma no enkoyi nti na ma sa ha woni amani nyina no abed enani nyina no ye obi mu omoda so bo wa me hu na me kire wa ya yoro hosem